Hello, and welcome to the Front Seat Life podcast. I am your host, Jessica Butts, where I am here to help you be unapologetically who you are in your life, love, and business by understanding and embracing your innate personality type. Most of you know I am all about not doing stuff that you suck at, absolutely leaning into your front seat, and that is what we're going to be talking about in this podcast. For those of you who don't know me, I am the CEO and creator of Front Seat Life. I am a Myers-Briggs expert. I'm a life and business coach for intuitive women, author, keynote speaker, obviously podcaster, and former couples therapist and psychotherapist. I'm an ENFJ, truth teller, F-bomb dropper, lover of all things Maui, and fiercely dedicated to helping you be unapologetically who you are. I am so excited to take you on this new series called Front Seat 16. And that means we are going to do a deep dive into all 16 Myers-Briggs types, as well as the front seat methodology behind every single one of the types. So it'll be a 16-week series. I have guests every single week coming on, talking to you about some of their front seatness, some of their backseat BS. That is what they're terrible at, and everything in between. Okay, buckle up. Let's do this. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Front Seat Life podcast. This is your host, Jessica Butts. Today's episode is all about the ESFJ. I actually just got done recording the episode with Katie Christiansen, and we are doing this episode right off of the Sara Dean episode. One, because Katie is actually Sara's assistant. And we talk so much about how she is the perfect integrator to the ENFJ visionary. And the episode is so packed full of absolutely amazing information. We did her family type. We talked about the integrator and the visionary and expectations and how they become a martyr. It is an incredible, incredible episode, and it might be my favorite of the series so far. So I'm actually not going to go through all of the stuff I normally go through in the beginning because we cover so much of it in the episode. But let me tell you overall, ESFJs are the caregiver. They are kind and generous and giving and organized and detailed. Their archetype is the police. They are the support staff, if you will. They have no desire to kind of be the upfront person. Their drunk uncle is actually the intuitive. So that kind of, big picture and entrepreneurial and starting their own business is absolutely their backseat. She and most ESFJs absolutely love being the caretaker. They love that role in their family and their life, and they are absolutely the perfect assistant and integrator for the visionary. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and I loved it, and I think you will too. All right, everybody. I am so excited to have Katie Christiansen here for today's ESFJ episode. I want to tell you how I met Katie and why I asked her to be my guest. So when I started this Front Seat 16 and thinking about describing all of the types, I really, in my mind, every time I think about personality type for that matter, I think of someone. Everybody has a quintessential type for me, and Katie is a quintessential ESFJ. So Katie and I met at a support event for my friend Sara Dean, who was our guest last week on the podcast. She's an ENFJ, similar to myself, and actually, that's not true. I met Katie long before that. That's actually not true. Long before that. However, I'm telling this story because it is when I realized how good Katie is at being an ESFJ and how much she embodies it. So Katie is the ultimate caregiver, in my opinion. And she is extroverted, high energy, like you just want to be around her, infectious energy. You kind of want to hug her. She is such an amazing caretaker. She takes care of her staff, her family, her employees. I witnessed it the very first event. I did a corporate training for her legal team that she used to work for, or maybe do you still do? And I met her there, and she was that person there, was kind of the caretaking and where the snacks and let me, make sure everything is perfect and wonderful. And then I'm at Sarah Dean's event, Shameless Mom Con, and I was keynote speaking at that event, and the same thing. Just making sure everybody feels good. You did that for me. You were so kind and caretaking. And do you have everything you need? And let me make you comfortable. And I just thought, damn, Sarah scored. Damn, Sarah scored. I mean, Katie is absolutely the perfect kind of side hustle person, right? Just to be there to support and encourage and be like the ultimate caregiver for her clients. And that is why I asked you on today, because when I envision an ESFJ, it's Katie Christiansen. So Katie, welcome. Introduce yourself to my fabulous listeners.
Thank you for having me, Jessica. I appreciate it. That was so sweet. Yeah, I'm Katie Christiansen. I am a virtual assistant. I have 2 roles right now. I work for a law firm, kind of managing the office, and I work for Sara Dean as her executive assistant for Shameless Mom Academy. And I'm a mom of 2 girls, teenagers. Ooh. God help me. Yeah. I've been married to my sweetie for almost 20 years.
Oh, congratulations. Hey. Wow. It's funny because we met so long ago and your girls were young. So it's weird to hear you say they're teenagers. I'm like, oh my God, really? So we've known each other a really long time.
Yeah, I went, of course, you know me, you got to be organized, right? I went back through all my notes.
Oh.
And we met in 2015.
Oh my Lord.
It's a long time.
Yes. Okay. So let me just do a really quick overcap, and then I want you to tell us why you're an awesome caregiver. So your front seat is your driver is an extroverted feeler. So you are absolutely all about caretaking other people, building relationships, making sure everybody's okay. The second part of your front seat, the co-pilot, is an introverted sensor. So in your mind, you have that file cabinet of details, data, minutia. Like it is constantly running. You are awesome at birthdays and holidays. And I remember this and I got this and I got all of the details. And then your drunk uncle is what Sarah's front seat is and mine, which is the big picture. So you pretty much suck at the big picture, which you confirmed before this.
Yes, ma'am.
And then your baby is actually the same as mine and the same as Sarah's, which is an introverted thinker. So you go inside, worry about all the minutia. If someone hurt your feelings or you're in a fight with someone, you just go over and over and over and over all of those things said. So you tell us, because that's the whole purpose of doing this podcast, is I want the ESFJs to hear it from an actual ESFJ. So tell us your good bits, tell us your bad bits, tell us all the stuff.
Yeah. So as a true ESFJ, I sat up last night and studied my type to make sure that I understood it. I have this printout from you, Jessica, with your gorgeous logo that talks about the caregiver. And so I read through that. I was reading it to my husband. He's like, oh my God, that is so you.
I love that. That makes me happy.
Yeah. So yes, I am a caregiver. I have to make sure that everyone has their PE clothes and their snacks and their lunch, and they know where they're going after school and who they're meeting up with and do they have a ride. And so that's my personal life, making sure my husband has packed all the things for his business trip. And I mean, he's an adult man. He can pack himself, but I make sure. Oh, did you pack? Did you get water for the car? All those things. And then as it relates to business, yes, it's trying to, and I've always been told this, but I'm really good at reading my manager's mind. So yeah. So, whether it's Sara or previous roles, like you told me the thing I need before I knew I needed it. Like, hey, have you thought about this? Or do we plan for this? Or do we do that? Do we pack this? That kind of thing, which I don't know how. I guess it just comes naturally to me, but making sure that in my business life that the person that I'm supporting is constantly being taken care of, and I'm taking that stuff off their plate before they even have to worry or think about it.
What a gift. Oh my God. Okay. So let's stick with the good for a few minutes before we jump into some of the not good. So I just made a little list over here. So as an ESFJ, there's a few things to consider. Let's talk about the first one, which is my guess is so ENFJs are the giver and you're the caregiver. And we have a tendency to become martyrs, which is, I'm giving some, we love to give. You just said it. You literally just described yourself in perfect detail that this is what you love to do. However, then we get martyry of, I'm giving so much. No one's giving back to me. I'm so tired. Why is no one helping? Yet we suck at asking for help. So how does I'm guessing this is true for you. You're nodding. So we're on Zoom right now. How does being a martyr show up in your life?
A martyr shows up in my life when I feel like I have given and I perceive that other people are not giving as much as me or spending as much time or volunteering as much or whatever. It usually comes into my personal life. And it's like, well, I've already completed my volunteer hours at school. And, why isn't that family participating in this fundraiser? Right. Things that are really, quite frankly, none of my business. But I feel like everybody should know how much I've given. And I'm going to tell everybody, when I'm exhausted and overworked and overstressed is getting into my own head about like, well, why am I always the first one to volunteer? Why do I have to be the one that picks up the pieces when nobody shows up? Why am I always the one that has to set up the carpool, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah, it can.
And isn't that fascinating? Because it sounds like you love it, yet when you do it, you get a little martyry. So how have you learned, and however many years you've been alive, 20 years married and have teenagers now and worked in corporate, how have you learned how to manage that for yourself? Because I'm guessing the listeners are like, oh my God, that's me. Oh, how do you fix it? How have you worked on that, Katie?
Well, so I tend to, and thank God my husband is a great listener, so I'll tend to usually have to vent to someone, whether it's usually my husband or my sister, which I work with, by the way, not for Sarah Dean, but my other job. So I either vent to one of them, and my sister's great about the empathy piece. My husband's great about, well, how are you going to fix it? Like, that's great. Bitched and moaned. Now what are you going to do about it? And so he's great about putting me back into my place. Like, they're not, let's say volunteering. They're not going to volunteer more if you bitch at them. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. You need to get over it. Stop being gossipy and bitchy and whatever. Like, move on.
And you mentioned before this that your husband is a T. And so he's much more logical. And so he is taking that stance from a logical perspective. And that as feelers, you and I, we take things so much more personally, right?
So much. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's lovely and frustrating at times to have a logical person in our lives that is like, honey, why are you freaking out so much about blah, 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 blah? And you're like, because it hurts. Yeah.
And I think as I get older, so I'm in my mid to late 40s, as I get older, I'm realizing that I don't give as much of a crap about what other people think about me. I mean, definitely I fall into that. I feel like when I'm in my backseat, I'm like, they hurt my feelings and nobody likes me and blah, blah, blah. But as I get older, I just don't care what the mom that I kind of know from school who doesn't volunteer. I don't really care what she thinks about me. I don't, right? Like it's not gonna affect my life. And I think that's coming on with kind of age and wisdom. Is just like, I love who I am and my family loves me and my friends love me. So who cares what this random person does or thinks about me? So
yeah.
I think that's
totally different topic, but so relevant. This is part of the Healing the Hustle book that I am slowly working on. Is I truly do believe at a certain age and going through COVID, we have just really redefined what's important. And the more we are limiting our circle, right? Like I like to think of it as multiple circles. I call D-list friends or D-list activities or people. And I think of, and maybe in our early 30s, certainly pre-COVID, we actually cared a little bit about that stuff. And as we age and we go through menopause and perimenopause, and we've just gone through a global pandemic, hence we're still in it, that circle is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And there's real beauty in that. And I think that's the visual I have of what you're saying is that it helps you heal the hustle, right? Because hustling, would you agree that, let me just ask that, would you agree that hustling for your type is people pleasing in a way?
Absolutely. And I was that way as a child, right? Like I'd see my sister get in trouble for stuff and I'd be like, ooh, I'm going to load the dishwasher for mom because mom's really mad right now. I'm going to just take care of her. I'm going to start dinner without even asking because I wanted to make everyone in the house happy after maybe my mom and my sister had an argument or something like that. Absolutely. Yep.
That is super, super powerful. So I talk obviously about nature versus nurture. And there could be some nurture in that. But what you're saying is so fascinating. And I think this is why I love type so much is that from a childhood. So again, some of that could have been a learned behavior, but your sister didn't do it. You did it because you came out of your mama as a caregiver. And so it makes you feel happy. You then people please. You do all these things the majority of your life. And as you're saying, in your mid to late 40s, how old are you? So we can just quit.
46.
Okay, great. So at 40s, so you can start saying like, some of this is no longer serving me.
Yeah. Absolutely. And thinking about how much time and brain space and emotion that I've wasted on some of this stuff, it's like, good Lord, I could get years of my life back.
Yeah. How is that? I would love for you to elaborate more because this is such an important piece about, again, healing the hustle for this type to see that in themselves. How have you been healing that? Like what actual things do you do? Do you get off of social media more? Do you have less activities? Do you have less friends? Like what are some tangible things that you're actually doing to cure or heal? That's a better word for it. Heal your people pleasing.
Yeah, I think the pandemic probably, as you mentioned, just kind of threw me into it because I tend to be like, oh, that person said something really awful on social media. I'll forgive them again. I'll keep following them or whatever. And the pandemic put me in. I have no time or patience for this behavior. Unfriend, unfollow, and really kind of reducing my exposure to the people that were probably toxic to me. And whether it be, a social media influencer, not necessarily a friend, it's like, I don't have time to expend energy on that behavior. So I'm just going to unfriend and unfollow. And just realizing that I don't have to wait, because we all sit the scroll, right? The scroll in the evenings, the scroll in the morning, all of that stuff that we were in the habit of doing. I didn't have the energy and the brain space to focus on that during COVID because I was working full time, right? 2 jobs and homeschooling my girls. Now, granted, they were preteen and teen. And so it's not like I had to sit with them and go over their ABCs, but it was like, okay, your school started 10 minutes ago. You're still in bed. Get the up and get on Zoom, right? Like it was that kind of stuff. Or
Totally.
It was I had a teen who really struggled. She started freshman year of high school in a pandemic. Like, wow. Think about remember your freshman year in high school. Like the friendships and the football games and the things, right? And so she didn't have any of that. And she had to sit on Zoom for 6 months before she could even walk in the building. Thank God she got to walk in the building. But managing her anxiety and stress and all of that, she's an introvert. So it was really hard for her and trying to make sure that, at first I was like, you didn't turn this assignment in. And I was angry and yelly. And I'm like, okay, that didn't fix any of that. So I feel like I spent a lot of energy making sure, and I definitely wasn't hand holding her and, saying, you don't have to turn anything. You don't have to go to school. No, that's not how we function. And, the Christiansens, we show up and we try, right? I didn't expect her to get a 4.0, but we don't sleep all day, right?
Yes.
And you try. That's all I want you to do. I don't care if you get enough on the test. One, you showed up and you tried.
Yeah.
So it was managing that and managing her emotional health and, trying to keep little sister in the picture. So I wasn't expending all my energy on big sister.
Yeah.
So that even my little extroverted little girl was not little, she's 12, but making sure that she felt like she was cared for as well, right? Because I'm a caregiver, I have to take care of everybody. Everybody feels like they're being cared for at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Share with us, because I always like to put myself, I love interviewing because it's fun to put myself while I'm not talking in the listener's shoes. And so tell the audience, tell us how you feel now after setting some of those boundaries and cutting people off of social, not listening to influence, whatever. How has that felt for you now? How do you feel?
I definitely feel like I don't have to. I've always kind of had that keeping up with the Joneses feeling, right? Where where I've always felt like, okay, if those people are doing that thing, or if they're following this person, or if they're going on this vacation or whatever, that I've got to kind of not necessarily keep up with it, but, kind of run in the same circles. And now I just don't care if someone is choosing to, do something that, like, especially before vaccination, I was like, I can't believe those people are getting on airplanes. Right? Like, and that was just, but I had kids that couldn't be vaccinated, right? So that to me was very dangerous. And so it was like, I don't care what they're doing for their family, as long as it's not affecting my family, it's not affecting my circle. That was very freeing, actually. Allowed me to really focus more on the things that I enjoyed and my family, and, taking the dog for a walk, and just really like clearing my mind. I used to walk and listen to podcasts or music all the time, right? And now I just go and I listen to the neighborhood and the birds and just clear the mind. I feel like I sleep better. I function better in my job. I am probably a better friend, and definitely a better mom and wife for my family.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to get this book out there, because you're really describing exactly what that is. And there's so many people that still are unclear how to do that. So thank you for sharing that. So I want to circle back now to something you said a minute ago about having expectations for other people. So this is one of the characteristics that ESFJs and ISFJs have very much. They share this characteristic, which is a feeling of just. They are everything needs to be just. They have expectations of other people. They expect certain things from people. My sister is an ISFJ, and I remember during her time in corporate America, this was something that was very important to her, which caused her a lot of stress and anxiety, was expecting other people to work as hard as she did. And she worked at the state, and there's not a lot of people that worked as hard as she did. And the stress, these are the things that would keep her up at night. And she was so angry. And so when I heard you talking about that, about venting to your husband about it, can you share or elaborate a little bit more about that? Because I know that these types feel that a lot. And then how do you navigate that and let it go?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. I worked in corporate for over 13 years, and I was the person that was usually the first one there of the support team, right? Got there before my boss, got there before the other folks in my department. And sometimes was the last leave, not always, especially because I got there so early. But yes, making sure that I was checklist in hand, ready to go. I feel as with Sara, right? Like when I help her with her events, right? Like I'm down there before she's probably even done blow drying her hair, and I'm making sure the sound system's working, and the bagels are warm, and the coffee's there, and the tech person, I text them to make sure they're there. Yes. I don't do well sitting back and letting things just kind of happen organically. I make checklists for everything. So I've got my checklist at home. I've got my checklist at work. I have to make sure all the things are done before I log off. Otherwise, that's me up in bed at, 2 a.m. going through all the things that I didn't get done or that. And I think COVID and the pandemic has really pushed me to say, you know what? The world isn't going to end if I don't do X, Y, and Z, right? Like we'll continue the family will move forward. The dentist appointments get scheduled next week. Sara is traveling, so she just expects us to be done by X, right? Like it all is going to happen, and it's all going to get done. And I think COVID made me realize that the world shut down, and me and my family, we were still able to live and breathe and connect. And actually, as much as people were like, oh, I was making sourdough bread and nope. I was like, I don't even have time to make dinner. Like we're all getting cheeseburgers from down the street. And I was that person, right? I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years, and I had dinner planned, I meal planned, I grocery shopped once a week. I had everything checklist, right. And then during the pandemic, I was in my backseat, right? Because I was like, I'm doing 700 jobs. And my husband's like, I'm going to take over the meal, right? Like he saw that about me and was like, lovely. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not the cook anymore. And I'm like, I kind of like not being the cook. It's amazing, and he's a way better cook. So I think the pandemic kind of shoved me into that. And again, approaching my late 40s, I was just like, some of the stuff just doesn't matter. I'm not going to get an award when I die that says she was the number one mom in the whole wide world. No,
Well,
kids love me.
But you still are. But you still are without being perfect.
Being overly, right?
Yeah.
Not going overboard.
Yeah. Because, my whole brand really is just being unapologetically who you are. And this is who you are with boundaries.
Yeah.
And so what I'm hearing you say is that during all of this, the global pandemic and just aging and maturing, is that you are continuing to set boundaries. And this is one of the things that I preach to my clients all the time, that if something is triggering you, you have the agency to turn that off.
Yeah.
There are a few people that I like to follow, but every once in a while they trigger me. Yep. So I just unfollow them for 30 days, or I unfollow them forever, or I unfriend them, or I don't turn the news on. We are so programmed to believe that we have to take all of this information in. And we have agency to not do that. We do not have to do that. And I believe it is helping people's mental health so much, because we were just on a train. I'm totally going off here, but we were on a train that we couldn't stop. I mean, I think that's part of why, I don't know if this is fair to say, but part of what COVID is teaching us, I'll say that, not why it happened, but what it's teaching us is that we were on a train that we couldn't stop. I mean, it was information overload. The whole influencer industry is such a bunch of bullshit. There's all of this information. Everyone has a podcast. I mean, I'm sorry, but everyone's doing all the things, and it is just information overload. And we were on a train that we couldn't stop. And now all of a sudden, I think the wise are learning, I have agency. I have control. I wrote a little sticky note the other day. I might even still have it. I do. Oh my God. I wrote, as I was feeling it, look at this. I mean, I literally wrote, I am in control of my life, my feelings, and my schedule. Yeah. I needed this as a reminder a couple of months ago because I was reacting to a bunch of stuff. And so I wrote myself a little sticky. I've passed this, but I still keep it in my drawer every once in a while of like, I am in control of that. Like as a giver and as a caregiver, we get so wrapped up in all the stuff outside of us because we're extroverts too. Yeah. And as extroverts, we like to connect. We like to, like you said, watching people's vacation pictures. I mean, I'm like you. I'm like, oh my God, where are you? What are you doing? What's happening? But then we also get a little like, just, and is that fair, and blah, 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 blah.
I deserve a vacation.
Why are you at an event with no masks on? Like all the I mean, come on, sister. So so it's all of that stuff, but setting the boundary.
Well, it's interesting. What you said just sparked something in me because my girls joined Scouts. So not Girl Scouts, not the cookies and the crafts, but they joined what was known as Boy Scouts. It's now called Scouts.
Awesome. Oh my God. Hallelujah. How did it take that long? Congratulations, world. That's great to hear that. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't have kids, so I never know this, but that makes me happy. It was like when I went to the Seahawks game pre-COVID, so in 2019, and we had male cheerleaders. And I was like,
hallelujah.
It is about time. I mean, it was almost like equal amounts. I was like, hallelujah. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, don't worry. So they joined Scouts because they wanted to learn survival skills. They wanted to camp, adventure, learn things outside of cookies and crafts is what we called Girl Scouts. And so they joined, and they were one of the first female troops in Washington. And I mean, it was very super exciting, and watching these girls, lead. And so, of course, most organizations like that, you have to have volunteers to run it, right? And so there were, I think, 6 or 7 families that started it off, and I said, I'll volunteer for this random role. And I never got into it. I never understood what I was doing. And finally, about 2 months ago, I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. It brings me no joy. These meetings don't bring me joy. I mean, I was very way more polite, but I just said, I have to step out.
Good for you.
Air travel. I have 2 jobs. The kids are super busy. Sophia's starting driver's ed. I'm out. And I was like, oh my God, why did I struggle with that for almost 2 years when when I join somebody or, volunteer, I want to be good at it. I want to know what I'm doing so they can do a really good job. And I never felt that way in that role. And so I stepped out and I'm like, oh, why did I wait so long?
Love it.
Frustrating.
Love it. If this is resonating with you, if it's hitting you in the heart, if you are like, girl, tell me more, there is an opportunity to do that. I love doing one-on-ones and deep diving into people's personality type. In 1 hour, you will be amazed at how much we can get accomplished. We can talk about your career goals, your front seat, your back seat. You get the official Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is a $97 value. We will Zoom and you will be amazed the clarity that you will come out with about what you are meant to be doing in this world, what you suck at, where you go under stress, where you need to be excelling in this world, in your business, your career, and your life, and the things that you need to be avoiding. So if you want to know more information, pop over to my website at jessicabutts.com. It'll pop up right in your face and schedule a time. And I cannot wait to connect with you one-on-one. Okay, I have two more main topics I want to talk about. So I'm just going to tell you what they are. So one is about visionary and integrator. And then I want to end this, and I have never done this, I don't think on the podcast the whole time. I want to do your family type. So, and I don't know what it is yet, so I'm just going to do it live. So this is going to be interesting to see how this comes out. But you told me before we started that you know the girls and Eric's. So we'll do that in a second. Okay, great. So let's back it up to, this is great. We're talking about all kinds of very important things. So yesterday I was speaking at an event. Thank you, vaccines. Speaking in person at an event. It was fantastic. And everyone in the room wanted to know the perfect assistant type. So it was a bunch of real estate agents, which are normally intuitive types. And they were all asking about the perfect assistant. And I was saying, no matter what, it's an SJ, which is you. And an SJ archetype, that is the front seat life methodology, my intellectual property, is that they are the police. And you guys are organized, detail, data, and then again, the S is details, minutia, all the lists that you were talking about, super organized. And then the J is making sure all of it gets done, being ahead of it, like you said earlier, too, of thinking before they even know. Mm-hmm. But I will also say, and I hope that you validate this, I think you will, is that as an ESFJ, you don't actually have the desire to be the boss or to be the owner. You're saying no way.
No, it's great you bring that up because a couple of years ago when I kind of branched out and, started an LLC and said, I want to be a virtual assistant and have these couple jobs, I had the opportunity to kind of market myself. I worked with you briefly.
Yes,
I worked
thank God. You were helpful.
And then I worked with another gal that I used to work at Starbucks who's branched out on her own and does executive coaching. And I was like, I have the ability to kind of have all these little jobs sprinkled everywhere. And I started into it. And I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like having to go and find, network and find these things that I want to do. And then I realized that the two roles that I'm in right now, they're very siloed, and they're very the work at the law firm is very transactional, and I can go in and I can get my stuff done, and I really don't have to interact with anybody else, and I get it done. Right. That's definitely not the extrovert, but that's like the working from home. Right.
Yeah.
I get the S done. And then, And then I go into my role with the Shameless Mom Academy, and I get to nurture and connect with these women and, help them. Right. So they're reaching out to me to go, my credit card didn't go through or this or that. And I'm fixing a problem for them, which I used to love to do when I worked at Starbucks. I worked in HR and I loved, your benefits got canceled. Let me fix that for you. Right. Like I loved being able to do that transactional stuff, but that still made someone's day or fixed a problem for somebody. Absolutely love that. So anyways, when I had this opportunity with my LLC to kind of make my own business, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
This is, Katie, thank you for being so honest, because I think this is exactly why I wanted to do this series of podcasts and have people like you on, because this is the epitome of understanding how we are different, not everybody is the same. Not everybody has the same goals. Not everybody wants to start their own business. Not everybody can do the details. Hence the book, Don't Do Stuff You Suck At. I mean, it's literally why I wrote it, because people think that they have to do everything or that they have to aspire to do everything. So it reminds me of the amazing book by Gina Wickman, Rocket Fuel, that ENFJs, myself and Sara Dean and all the other ENFJs and many other types are the visionaries. Our job is to be the big picture. Our job is to do exactly what you said you just hate, is to vision what's next. I start my own business. Where can I go? I'm going to write this next book. Oh my God, I had this great idea. Oh, I could be able to not just. I'm watching you. I mean, you guys could see us. She just leaned back and was like, gross. And then you talk about all of these details. You're the integrator. So there's a visionary and an integrator. They are not the same person. They're not the same person. And so it is so, and people always think like, oh, is she going to want to I mean, I guess some people don't think this, but steal my business or go off on her own. If you hire the right person, Katie, you love being the support and Sara loves being the visionary. They are two different people. So I think that's why this is so important to talk about hiring the right person and knowing that your back seat is our front seat, which is all of you don't want to do that stuff.
I don't want your job. I love what you do, but you do your thing and I'll watch.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? And I do love what you just described in your two different roles, is that you get to be extroverted and engaged and interactive with Sara's group. And then in the law firm, you get to kind of practice that SJ stuff. It's like, I'm getting a paycheck. I'm helping. By the way, both of your bosses are intuitive types. So I know your other boss too, and she's an N. And they are visionaries and they think outside the box and they're driving the company while you are helping integrate all of their wonky ideas.
Keeping the lights on in the background.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, this is so fun. Okay. Let's end with something I've never done live. So let's talk about your family type. So if you're listening right now and you're not driving or at the gym or wherever, you might want to write these down, because I'm going to do a team or family type. And this is in Don't Do Stuff You Suck At. I don't know what chapter it's in, but it's right there. So you are an ESFJ. Eric is an INTP, correct?
Correct.
For the listeners, that is the exact opposite. So can you, before we go on, can you tell us in 2 minutes how that works for you and how it makes you crazy?
So God love him. He also works from home. By the way, he's in the basement. He's in sales. And so he's downstairs doing his thing. And so and it's funny to have an introvert in sales, right? So he goes out and he does his sales pitch and he connects with people. And when he comes home, so he goes out and does that out. And then when he comes home, he just wants to sit and process and re-energize himself in the quiet. And guess what? When he comes home, I'm like, you know what happened today? And I verbally vomit all of the things that I tripped over a rock. And I telling him everything, telling him absolutely everything. And so we've learned to kind of figure out when he needs, like on the weekend, sometimes he'll just go down the garage for 4 hours by himself and do his thing. And I'm like, I'm not going to go help him do things because he's actually recharging right now. So I'm up here with the girls being social and dancing and listening to music and cleaning the kitchen. And he's downstairs in the garage reorganizing that bin for the 5th time, but he's re-energizing himself.
And how have you as an extrovert learned to deal with that? I mean, it's been 20 years, but how have you also learned to understand that and deal with that?
So it used to drive me crazy. I'm like, oh my God, we both work full time and we work all day. And doesn't he want to spend time with me on the weekends? And I'm like, no. If he does, if I'm in his space and we're constantly together all weekend, then it starts us off on the wrong foot during the weekday. And he hasn't had that time to recharge. And that's when, he's more exhausted or we're less connected or whatever. So I've realized, it took probably 15 years for me to realize this. I mean, that's a long time.
Wow.
So yeah, I just, he's not down there. I used to think, oh my God, he's in the garage. He's mad at me. He don't want to hang out with me. And then I was like, girl, enjoy your time. And let him recharge. So it did take a while.
It is truly, truly amazing. And this is why I love types so much, is it helps us in our own lives, in our relationships, and in our business so much to know who we are and also how we interact with other people. Because you guys are going into 20 years together, and that is amazing that you're kind of just now learning it. But the acceptance of that. I mean, if I ever write the fourth book, it will be Love Me for Who I Am, which is, this is what's going on. This is who I am. I ain't going to change. You bugging me, telling me about the rock you tripped over. That is not going to change the fact that I need 4 hours on a Saturday to recharge. And so when we can come in fully and say, this is who I am. This is what I got going on. This is not going to change because it's innate. I love you for who you are, but you also need to love me for who I am. And the acceptance and just letting go that comes with that is like mind blowing, is it not?
Yeah, it's a game changer for sure.
Yeah. Yep. And totally freeing. Totally freeing.
Very much so. Like you said, when I'm in my backseat and I'm overthinking, like, he said this and I said that, and he's mad at me. And then I'm like, I don't have to spend time or energy on any of that anymore. I'm like, he loves me and he needs some quiet time. Great.
Yep. Oh my God. And then you can go read or hang out with your girls or go to lunch with your sister. Or it's just the mental and emotional energy that frees up is astronomical.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Amen to that. Okay, let's get back to this. Okay, tell me your girlies' names.
I have Sophia. She's 15.
So cute. Okay, and what is Sophia's type?
She is an INFP.
Oh, Lordy. Sweet and soft and kind of all over the place and likes to read and just the kindest,
yummy a second.
Yes, I would love Sophia. Okay.
That's a good description for her.
They're the yummiest. INFPs are the yummiest type. That's funny. I should give them different words. So like you're the perfect, well, caregiver's a good one, but yeah, INFPs are the yummiest. Okay. And your youngest daughter is 12. And what is her name?
Her name is Lauren. And no, I did not plan Sophia Loren. No, that was
would have ever guessed that.
But kind of happened.
I was actually thinking those are beautiful names, Sophia and Lauren. That is funny. Okay, and what is Lauren's type?
She is an ESFP.
Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I have top line is ESFJ, which is Katie, INTP, Eric, INFP, Sophia, and ESFP. This is a little weird to do on a podcast, but if I go through them, there is a equal balance in their family of introversion and extroversion. So my guess is that Eric and Sophia might connect a little bit more sometimes on introverted things. So I wish everybody could see you, because as I say it, your head's about to fall off nodding. So yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. So they connect by reading and doing more introverted things. And you and Lauren likely go out into the world more. You might go shopping. You might go to lunch. You are doing the more extroverted things. Is this true? Okay. Do you want to share anything more about?
Lauren has a million friends, all the friends, every friend in class. Sophia has never even had really, I shouldn't say she's never had a best friend, but she just, well, that's not true. She has like the small group of friends in high school and they're very close, but she will connect with them individually and do things as opposed to being like she went to a dance and she's like, it was completely overwhelming. There were people and I just stimulated and
yeah. Okay. So this is so fun. Okay. So the S and N, also very interesting, is a 50-50 split. Yep. So you have a very good balance of logic going on in your family, details, data, minutia. And then you also have, this is interesting. So Eric and Sophia also connect on this one. So they're kind of the dreamers and the big picture people. And it probably drives you and Lauren crazy, the what ifing going on. Okay. Yes, this is accurate.
Okay. Yeah, Lauren we've always called her the mommy. She's making sure everyone's taken care of. And she's, Sophie, did you pack your lunch and did you eat breakfast yet? And yep.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so now we get really interesting. So your family type on the thinking and feeling is absolutely F. You have 3 feelers and they all happen to be the females or people who identify as females in your family. And the only thinker is your husband. So Yeah, he probably doesn't get a lot of logic, which he's probably used to because of the women going on. But do you know if that frustrates him? Does he ever struggle with having a family full of, feeling females?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, he's actually a very sweet and caring and sensitive guy, probably more so than a lot of men at least that I've encountered. But I think sometimes he's just like, the girls can come to me with a problem and I have a lot of empathy around it. I'm like, oh, and I get it. And he's just like, well, let's find a solution. Like, quit your bitching and let's figure this out. I mean, he doesn't say that, but
yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is so interesting. So I'm looking, by the way, if there's a family listening, or like I did this yesterday at a speaking event and a bunch of people came up to me afterwards and was like, can you do this for my team? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So on my website, jessicabutts.com, a pop-up, as soon as you go there, it pops up and it's a deep dive. We can spend an hour doing this and I can tell you who's being left out, where the missing pieces are, where you're going to rub each other wrong, who's going to get along, who's not. So just FYI, if anybody wants to do that. So I'm looking at this and you and Lauren are going to be energetically and personality type wise more connected. You guys are much more similar. You're both extroverts, you're both sensors, and you're both feelers. So there you have that. She's very similar to you. She's not as organized as you are, but you two are going to connect more. Yes. And then there's Eric and Sophia. They are very similar. They share the introvertedness, they share the intuitive, and they share the P. They're also both squirrels. And so when Sophia needs and I'm sure you encourage this as well, but as Sophia grows up and she's going to likely be some sort of artist or a philosopher.
Oh my God. Artist.
Yep.
Okay. Right now.
Okay, great. So this is who she's going to be. She's not going to be an accountant. And if she is, you need to tell her not to do that. And so you and Eric, but Eric innately and naturally is going to be able to support that because he's also a squirrel and he is more logical, but he has this freewheeling, go after your dreams. You don't have to have a traditional job kind of person, but you also know enough about type and are obviously well versed in personal development and you love her. But that is like, she's not going to become that kind of person where Lauren might. I mean, Lauren might be a lawyer or something much more logical because that's her type. Yeah,
absolutely.
And this is why also nurture does not play a factor because your family is completely opposite and you all have this amazing nurturing of each other. It sounds like, but you're all very, very different.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And your husband was the complete opposite of me until last night when he did the test. I was like,
yeah. And your daughters are pretty different as well. I mean, an ESFP is actually like they are very charismatic. They are kind of sometimes become literally actors or comedians. They're, again, very charismatic kinds of people.
Great comedic timing. So, yeah.
Yes. So different. Yeah. Sophia and Lauren are very different. Okay. So this is so fun to look at it. Now we should have just done this because now I feel like I could have done an hour on your family. Okay. So now we've got the J and the P. And so you are, my friend, the only J.
The lone J.
You, thank God, are the matriarch of this family. It probably drives you crazy, but no wonder your girl, you said like 10 minutes after school, I got to get you up. Like they are the fly by the seat of their pants. Don't worry about it, mom. We'll figure it out. We'll get there when we get there, blah, blah, blah. Like that is so them. And tell me how that affects you. I mean, you're the only one who's kind of keeping the run. And no wonder you become such a martyr because you got 3 people just solely relying on you to keep their shit together.
Yeah, it does drive me absolutely insane. And the fact that, and I'm usually the first person up, but, get the coffee, turn the lights on, start the process of getting everyone awake, all that. And I still have to drive my girls to school because they're not old enough to drive themselves. And so it's like, if we, and I feel like a broken record, if we leave by this time, you're going to make it before the bell rings, and, those kinds of things. And I see it in their eyes. They're like, I know. I'll get there when I get there, right?
Yeah.
I'll get to school. It's just a bell. And I'm like, no, you have to follow the rules and you have to be in your seat by the time the bell rings. And like, And I'm like, oh my God.
I met with a woman. I was signing some books after the speaking thing yesterday, and I met with a woman who it was an ESTP. No, ENTP. And she was telling me, has a bunch of, has children and a whole life. And she was telling me that she so appreciates structure because she's so unstructured naturally. So she goes like above and beyond to force herself, because she's like, I have to do it. Otherwise, nothing will ever get done.
I'm the bill payer, and my husband's like, I don't want to pay the bills. It's just, I'll pay them when I think about it randomly.
Yeah. And why? I mean, it's going to be his back seat. I mean, we know this, right? This is your front seat. It's easier for you.
Yep.
I would say, like, as we wrap this up, the one thing I would say for you is to make sure that, you're getting taken care of, because your natural tendency, and now that we've looked at your family type, is not only are you taking care of your boss at the law firm, you're taking care of Sarah Dean's people, you're also taking care of your family. This is your role. So it is not unlike, it makes perfect sense that you've pivoted yourself into these positions. And we all need, no matter what our type is, we also still need to receive love and care and time away, and going to the spa with your sister, or, taking time to go to lunch by yourself, or whatever that is. Yeah, this was really fun, especially looking at your family type.
I know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got a little freebie bonus I got.
You're welcome. So, in closing, anything, I know as an ESFJ, you prepared hard for this.
It's actually right.
You're thinking like, shit, I didn't get to say this. In closing, anything that you didn't say that was important or you want to cover for the listeners to know about your amazing, beautiful caregiving type?
No, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with that last piece, is just making sure you're taking care of yourself. I mean, I think that it's very easy as an ESFJ to burn the candle at both ends and then feel like very martyry and feel like no one's taking care of you and no one's loving you. And it's stopping and letting my husband take over the meals and the, meal planning and the grocery shopping. I probably have more time to do it, but it brings him joy to take that off my plate and to take care of. That's like his way of showing me. I mean, not the only way of showing me, but like one of his ways to show me. He knows that, I'm picking up the girls and I have the full family calendar and I've got all the structure. And so he finds great ways to be able to take some of this stuff off my plate that he knows that is probably not my favorite, that I'm like, well, shoot. I mean, it's just a huge stress relief. It's, potentially one of those things that can keep me up at night. And it's letting people take care of you. So if somebody offers something and you go, no, I've got it. It's actually being like, actually, if you could do that for me, that would be amazing. So it's letting go of some of that and knowing that, my girls are going to resent me if someone else picks them up from school, and and that, if I don't make dinner tonight, everybody's going to love it anyway. It doesn't matter. So it's letting people take care of you. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with that.
I'm so glad. I have to say, I think this is my favorite episode.
Oh, you said that about Sarah Dean.
Well, it was until I did this one.
You're so
this
cute.
was just so helpful. So helpful. I have a whole you can't see it, but you can hear it. I have a whole page of notes. That was so educational and so helpful. So, Katie, I don't know if you're accepting new clients or not, but if you want people to follow you or look into you, and if you don't, we will cut this part out. But if you would like people to know more about you, how can they find out more about you or not?
If people want to follow me, my Instagram handle is hilarious because people think it's not what it actually means. It's Katie Cougar, which has nothing to do with me being a cougar. It's because I went to Washington State University, so I'm a Cougar alumni. If people want to follow me, they can request to follow me on Instagram at Katie Cougar. Other than that, I don't have a business website or anything where you can just, message me there and we can connect. And
love it.
And I had a blast today. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
From the bottom of my heart, truly, thank you so much for listening. I know that you have a ton of options, and the fact that you are taking time to listen to the Front Seat Life podcast means absolutely everything to me. If you're interested in learning more about the Front Seat Life way of life in the community, you can find out all about that at jessicabutts.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.